So because the atomic bomb doesn't kill Godzilla, MacArthur is unfortunately going to have no choice but to go to Chesty Puller. They give him a growth serum, and now he will battle Godzilla in hand-to-hand combat in a bombed-out Tokyo to the death. Go Marines. Ladies and gentlemen, the new trailer for Godzilla Minus One is now out, and it is totally awesome. Today I'm going to give my reactions. I'm going to give a little bit of a breakdown on what I saw, some predictions of what I think are going to happen. If you want to learn more, stick around, watch the video. I'm not going to lie, this movie visually looks stunning and beautiful and amazing. You know, it looks like a typical Takashi Yamazaki movie. All of his movies, now I've actually seen his Always Sunset on 3rd Street films, all of them have this nice visual look to them all. And it looks like one of his movies, which again automatically sets us above a lot of the Hollywood trash that is being made right now. You know, something I didn't realize in the previous video in which I talked about this, it's interesting that he is writing, directing, and also doing most of the visual effects within this movie. That's only been done in Godzilla once before, and that was actually twice before. Once was Ishiro Honda on All Monsters Attack, aka Godzilla's Revenge, and then the second time was Shizuke Kaneko on Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah Giant Monsters All Out Attack. It's the most ridiculous title I have ever heard for a movie. Ever. This was a typical Japanese trailer. It's simple and to the point. There's not much for what the movie is really about within it. It just sort of gives us little snippets and lines and stuff like that. And it certainly does not really showcase what I believe to be any spoilers. It does what a trailer is supposed to do. Unlike a lot of Hollywood trailers where they just flat out spoil the entire movie within the trailers that get dropped. That's not so much with Japanese trailers, and this is no exception. Well, we didn't get much for plot out of it. We certainly did learn a lot just from watching this one trailer. The biggest one to me that got confirmed is that this does indeed take place directly after World War II. In fact, we got a specific date within the trailer for the trailer. It is 1947, so I was off by 2 years. I actually have a quote here from the producers of this movie. A new synopsis and stuff like that from the producer Minami Ichikawa. It's right after World War II, and so I found it novel to create an era without the self-defense forces, no weapons and ammunition. In other words, the starting point was, what would happen if Godzilla appeared when Japan was defenseless? That also confirmed a lot of what I was speculating within the previous video that I talked about Godzilla Minus One on. If you want to watch that, link is in the description below. Clearly, this is not 1954 like a lot of people were debating and speculating on. This is before 1954. You can definitely see a MonsterVerse influence there in terms of its style. You see a lot of newspaper clippings and stuff like that. Personally, I have no issues with that. I've seen a lot of people in Godzilla groups that I'm involved with, especially in Toho Kingdom, saying like, oh no, it's just copying the MonsterVerse, so it's going to be awful. No, I think this style... I like it. I've always liked this sort of style because you can lore dump a lot of stuff in there to sort of build upon your universe. In fact, that's one of my favorite parts of the MonsterVerse is how much lore actually gets dumped within the credits of the movies. I have no problems with the fact that the Japanese are being influenced by the MonsterVerse, at least in terms of that visual style. As far as the rest of the movie goes, I think it's going to be radically different than the MonsterVerse. So a time before the JGSDF. Now that's interesting because that means, in a nutshell, that Japan has no military. None. We completely demilitarized them as we occupied Japan. We were in occupation of Japan until 1952. So clearly what we see in this trailer are American destroyers fighting Godzilla, and Godzilla's destroying those ships. They are American ships. And they have mentioned Douglas MacArthur. Douglas MacArthur, it's a personal letter to the Japanese Prime Minister. It is kind of funny, though. I sort of meant it as a joke, but within the ANP group, I just sort of put a hashtag MacArthur confirmed. You know, it's kind of a joke because I'm a huge history buff, if you can't judge by the shelf behind me. I love my history. I love post-war history. Hell, my most famous YouTube video isn't a Godzilla video. It's about the last 24 hours of World War II. So I kind of know a lot about this. I know a lot about this era and stuff like that. So the joke MacArthur confirmed I thought was really funny. I really hope MacArthur does play a big role. Even if he's not visually on screen, a lot of what decisions that he makes is within the movie. Do I really think that's going to happen? Probably not. I don't think the screenwriters are that smart. And I don't mean that necessarily as an insult. I just think that they won't do it for either political reasons or they want to really play up that Japan is a nation that has been through a lot and has persevered throughout all of that. So I think it's going to be very nationalistic, even more so probably than Shin Godzilla. One thing, though, that I did notice, and I've seen a lot of people speculating on in Godzilla groups, is Godzilla Burning. You clearly see his skin getting charred, and you see what looks like ashes rolling off of him, and you clearly see, and he's roaring in pain. Which is interesting, because, Godzilla's supposed to be the king of the monsters. He's not supposed to be hurt by regular weapons. Well, I'll get to that in a little bit. I think what we just saw within that one shot is something that I mentioned before. I mentioned that the SH Monsterarts model is charcoal gray, while the Godzilla design we see in the trailer is definitely more of a reddish brown. And I think this trailer kind of released why. And I think this also plays into the rumors that there are two Godzillas rather than just one. For the record, I have seen no evidence to suggest that there are two Godzillas. I do not think there are two Godzillas. I think it's pretty definitive that there are not two Godzillas, but I think some of the confusion and speculation came from the fact that we're seeing two different colored Godzillas. I think they are the same creature. Here is my official speculation as to what this movie is going to be structured as in terms of Godzilla himself. This is speculation. I could be completely, totally wrong. Lord knows I have been wrong many times before, but here we go. The brownish-colored Godzilla was awakened by Hiroshima or Nagasaki or a mixture of both, and it begins to wreak havoc on Japan. In a similar vein to Return of Godzilla or even Shin Godzilla, the Americans threaten to get involved. Only this time, Japan cannot say no because they literally have nothing because we've demilitarized them. They have nothing. So America has no choice but to get involved. Plus, if what we're seeing in the trailer are indeed American destroyers, which I think they are, the designs line up, America has no choice but to get involved because they are directly involved. Godzilla has directly gone after their stuff. So I believe America will now drop a third atomic bomb on Godzilla, as what we see in the trailer. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but in 1945, we dropped the only two atomic bombs we had on Japan. We bluffed. We said we had tons of them. We threatened that we would literally annihilate the island of Japan in a ball of fire, and that was the atomic bombs. We only had those two. We were definitely making a third and fourth one, for sure, but they probably wouldn't have been ready until about 1946, so it makes sense why we might drop a third atomic bomb on Godzilla. And I think that's exactly what we see in the trailer, and I'll show you the shot right here that'll be up on screen. I think that's an atomic bomb going off next to Godzilla. And this horrifically burns Godzilla and also changes his skin color to that charcoal gray, which is why I think people thought there were two Godzillas, but really it's the same one just after he's been nuked. And of course, that atomic bomb will not kill Godzilla, so MacArthur forces... So because the atomic bomb doesn't kill Godzilla, MacArthur is unfortunately going to have no choice but to go to Chesty Puller. They give him a growth serum, and now he will battle Godzilla in hand-to-hand combat in a bombed-out Tokyo to the death. Go Marines. That is my speculation for what's going to happen in Godzilla Minus One. That is what, the Chesty Puller joke aside. There is something that kind of made me chuckle within this trailer, and it's it's a good shot. I just hate the line, and it's the girl going, "That's Godzilla." I think that's become the world is changing. Remember when the world is changing seemed to have been said in literally every trailer dropped from Marvel, DC, or any cinematic universe ever for like a decade? That was like the line. This is the third kaiju movie in which they have said that's insert name of monster here. So that's insert name of monster there. And I understand that it's not comical, but it's becoming a cliche that it made me kind of chuckle. I'm like, I think that's official. That's the new kaiju cliche for their trailers. I'm dying here because I literally think this movie, from everything that I've said and everything that I've seen, is literally been made for me. I think they literally said they saw some fat on the internet and said, you know what, we got to make this movie just for him. I mean, I want to see Godzilla fight World War II equipment, and I like the uniforms. I know the politics of post-war Japan. I like the possible alternate history aspects to this movie. The number one thing I like is how helpless Japan will be. That's exactly what the director wants. He wants to show how that's where the title comes from, is how helpless Japan is. And I think that's actually a really cool twist on the trope that these movies tend to have. For example, in Return of Godzilla and in Shin Godzilla, America threatens to get involved because Godzilla also threatens our interests. But Japan finds a way to get America out of there, or America ends up kind of helping in some way. For example, Return of Godzilla, they fire a nuke to intercept the Russian nuke that accidentally gets launched. That's also helping Japan. So it's a very international sort of ordeal. That's definitely Shin Godzilla. This, I don't think, is going to be the case because it kind of can't be the case. There's also some speculation that I've seen where Godzilla will appear multiple times in Tokyo because there's several shots where Tokyo clearly looks destroyed already when Godzilla is there. You know, Godzilla probably will show up multiple times, but guys, we're going to see a destroyed Tokyo before Godzilla shows up. That's just the reality of what we're going to see. And that's because, and I'm speaking as an American, we did our job in World War II. We said we were going to annihilate the Japanese. We did our job. We bombed Tokyo literally into oblivion. More people died in the fire bombings of Tokyo than the 2 atomic bombs that we dropped, all right? Just to put that in perspective. In fact, we did our job so thoroughly that Japan would not finish rebuilding Tokyo until 1964, almost 20 years later. Yeah, let that sink in. That's how well we destroyed Tokyo. One last thing that I kind of want to talk about, and that is, and admittedly, this is kind of morbid. What I'm about to say is a little bit morbid, but it is good to see Godzilla blatantly killing people again. Like, of course, like, that sounds like the most morbid thing you could possibly say, but it appears that Godzilla in this, including some of the dialogue that we've seen within the trailer, that he is angry. Godzilla is very angry, and he's going out of his way to brutally kill people, like those shots with him stepping on people and everything like that. And that's actually only really been done in 2 other really look at it, that's really only been done in 2 other Godzilla movies in this franchise. One is the original 1954 masterpiece, and the other was Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monster All-Out Attack. And notice how I've mentioned those 2 movies several times throughout this video. Because most of the other films, Godzilla's sort of like this benevolent thing, where he's neither good nor evil. He's more killing people because they happen to be in the way. GMK and the original film are the only ones where Godzilla blatantly goes out of his way to kill people, and I think we're getting that within this movie, Godzilla Minus One. I like me a flat-out evil Godzilla. I really do. Hence the Godzilla within my Godzilla universe, the Godzilla saga. I mean, he's the definition of evil in that thing. There's none of this benevolent horse crap that even Shin Godzilla has. I mean, Shin Godzilla, he kills people in that too, but it's more out of self-defense. He's a benevolent, he's really benevolent in that. The Monsterverse, even though he's an anti-hero, he's benevolent in that. This, nah. This Godzilla is mad, and he has every right to be. Kind of reminding me of a wounded animal backed into a corner. He's going to lash out. That's, to me, what they're doing with this Godzilla, and I'm hyped, man. The hype is absolutely real, ladies and gentlemen. I am so excited for this movie. We don't have to worry about it getting delayed because of the writer's strike or anything like that. I am hyped for this movie. World War II and Godzilla. That's all I have to say. You immediately... The warmth goes straight to my cockles. That's all I have to say. So, thank you very much for watching. If you want to see my speculation on the new Monarch TV series that is going to be coming out on Apple TV, I will also have that in the description below. Do check that out. I have a video going in-depth about what I think is going to happen there. Thank you so much for watching. All of my social media is also in the description below. And in the end, this is Adam Noyce of AN Productions saying, sayonara.